Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Alright, boys and girls, this is Ron from Romo Art, also from Sector 7. Alright, take 2. Nope. Hello there.
How are you?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, great.
Shut up. No, you're not. You haven't come out on Monday and said great ever.
I don't know that I've had a great Monday ever. No, it's funny. I almost laugh. I went back and listened to all our shows, and I'm just like, man, it has really been like just a crap year, like four. Like I'm sitting here going, it is literally every week there's something else going on. Yeah. And I'm not naturally just this person that's like, I hate life. Like,
no, you're not. That's not the Matt that I know. It's right. The Matt that I know now, but that's not the historical Matt. No,
it's really not. It's just amazing to me how it's been. So I figured I'd switch things up. But it's funny, even when I say great, everyone just knows I'm lying.
No, but here's the thing, though. I can tell you, as an outsider looking in, I objectively see things happening to you, like your car on fire in the parking lot. Right, I objectively see these things that happen. They're not in your head. Like, right. It like the struggle's real. It's fucking real.
Yeah, it's been legit for sure, but
yeah,
it is what it is. It's funny because I went back through most of our shows, and what's cool is I've gotten to hear us get a lot better at doing them over time.
Yeah,
for the most part, there's been one or two kind of duds, or there was one in particular. I think I was maybe off my game a little bit, but
gold.
No, right, exactly. And I mean, I just hate letting the masses down that are listening.
You hate letting the fan down.
Yeah, exactly. Just the loyal hordes of people that listen week after week.
Yeah. Dude, I had, like, when I started doing the YouTube channel, like I didn't think that everyone had one. I thought a bunch of people had one, but I really didn't know. So I was like, okay, if you want to sell a comic book, you've got to have a YouTube channel. Like that's like tip number one, not knowing that I was already miles behind. Everyone has a fucking channel. It's crazy.
Right.
It's
Now,
crazy.
yeah, doing a podcast now is so ridiculously easy. Like I remember back when it was actually hard. Actually, my buddy John, who I believe you met or at least know that I do the kaiju thing with.
Yeah, I've never met him, but I've seen you guys do it before. I've watched the show.
Right. He and I were doing a podcast like years ago, and it was kind of short lived at the time, but it was a pain to put together. Like, back then there's a lot more that goes. We appreciate you, Britt, and
Yeah.
that you're kind of the glue that holds this whole thing together for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually like it required some know-how to do. And now it's just like anyone can do it. And
yeah, and everyone does, and I don't know if that good or bad. I don't fucking know. It is what it is. Like, do you still need one to sell a comic? I remember Hojo saying like Hojo doesn't have his own YouTube thing, but what he does is something he does is the marketing of his book. Like he'll go on 100 different shows. You know what I
Right.
mean? So although he doesn't have his own, he might as well, because he just lines them up for interviews, and it's like that's another way to go.
Yeah, it's just a huge, if you appear on 100 shows, that's 100 hours of time you're investing, obviously. You know what I mean? So
it's tough.
It is.
Like
It's really tough.
me being the artist part of it, which takes up the most time, it is tough to be like, okay, I want to do a show every night this week. That's fucking 5 hours. Like that's in 5 hours. If I was to work straight through, no kids, no interruption and stuff, in 5 hours, I could have a page half done. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, there's actually a lot of work time.
Right.
Being the writer, it's writing, although it's just as imaginative, it's a faster process.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it can, and I do agree with you. It is a faster product because that's one of the things that drives me nuts about drawing, because when I practice and actually put some effort into it, I can draw certain things fairly well. I say that with some hesitation because I'm talking to you, and I know that I'm not anywhere near your level, but that's always part of what's kind of turned me off about the artistic side. I'm very impatient when and I need my ideas to come out a little faster. So when I write, if I'm in a good flow, it's gold, and it spills out, and it's boom, 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 boom. And then you hit this wall where you're like, oh my goodness, why can't I do this? And it becomes a bit more challenging in that regard, although I've found some ways around that and learned how to become a bit more creative or get those juices flowing again a little bit better as I've gotten older. So, but you're right. It does. The artwork side of things, it's tough too, because you're the only guy on like several books. So when you're doing all this stuff and doing it at the level that you're doing it at, like if you were pumping out crap, like just basic,
I could pump out just regular line art, you know what I mean? But that minus shading and all the little details of machinery and stuff that I like to do, it's definitely, especially now because I've inked. Well, I don't want to give myself props for inking because I ink digitally. If you gave me a brush in my hand, I'm a toddler. But at least inking digitally, I've gotten better. But it actually takes more time. So like doing certain lines slower than usual to get that nice crisp point at the end. I've definitely up because I've inked so much. I've been inking nonstop basically because I draw. I go through the stages of pencil. I get about halfway, and then I just start throwing ink on top of that because I don't have time to do a fully rendered pencil page and then ink on top of the fully. Basically, I'll be drawing everything twice, you know. So I go like halfway with the pencils and I throw down inks. And I've been doing it this whole year almost for Chris, at least since like June, I think, June or July. That I've definitely gotten better. I've started using different tools, different brushes, which is nice. But again, that takes getting better actually for inking means slowing down. You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, because I want to just whip them out and get like 2 or 3 pages done a week. But I'm like, some of these lines aren't perfect, and getting better in inking is definitely a process in patience. It's a process of slowing down. And it's like, okay, it's I'm having trouble getting like 2 pages done a week where a few months ago I could, but the inking is actually better on these pages. You know what I mean? And Chris is loving them, so that's great. But I'm about 9 pages away now from a fully completed Nano 13 issue 1. So yeah, nine pages away, and then I'll throw down the balloons, the word balloons. And then the colorist is already working on it, so he's getting ready to launch in February. But yeah, it's how the hell do we start talking about this? YouTube, whatever. It's a fucking tangent. It's a tangent as always. Who cares? But what are we supposed to be talking about? We're supposed to be talking about the big guy behind you, because that is a coming.
Yeah,
and do the trailers. I mean, just the TV spots. I finally saw like a TV spot where they edited little pieces together so you can get like the full effect of the atomic breath. I'm like, oh my god, it looks fucking unreal, dude. It looks so good.
It really does. I mean, just the look of Godzilla in this.
Yeah.
I love the design they chose for him.
Design.
It is, to me, it's this great update of it while still being faithful to tradition. It to me blends some of the best features of like that 90s, 80s, 90s Heisei era with some, like I said, just little tweaks and updates to it that just shine, and I absolutely love it. He's intimidating. And this is the thing that really stuck out to me, because we were talking about this. I was talking about this in the fandom the other day with another person. It's no secret, if anyone knows anything about me, I think one of my most overrated films in the series was Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which we know in the fandom as GMK because it's just a mouthful to say. And I remember in that one, everyone was like, it's still a fan favorite among Godzilla designs. And for me, it's not. I think it's an okay design. I like some of its features. The head sculpt is decent. The spines are interesting, but he kind of has this Earl Sinclair from Dinosaur's gut to him, and it makes him look really goofy when he like charges at one point. And so that was a reference to the old Dinosaurs TV show for anyone who's familiar.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. I know what you're talking.
He does. He has this protruding belly that makes it look really bizarre when he was running. And then, but the thing that stood out was the white pupils. He had totally white eyes. Yeah. And to me, it just didn't look like, people were like, oh, he looks scary. And I'm like,
no, it didn't look. No, it didn't look right.
It doesn't look right.
No, it doesn't.
To this day. And it just doesn't. And some people, they mentioned that, oh, it reminds me of a Deadite, and I really liked it. I'm like, I don't want Godzilla to be a Deadite. He's not a Deadite. Like, just what he is. So
I mean, oh, look at that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. From the new Monarch show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's obviously
I love that design too. I love that design. I think they've definitely changed the newer, the American one. They've changed it slightly over the 3 movies.
Right.
You know what's funny? Speaking of design, and I think of you every fucking time I see the trailer. It's it's for -1. It's his foot. And I'm like, I wonder if Matt likes those feet, because you hated in the 2014 Godzilla. You hated his feet. I remember you telling me,
right,
because it looked like a tree stump with 2 toes, and that's all. Just I remember you were so irritated by it.
It looked awful back then. It really was bad. The feet in the new one, they look great. And that was the thing. Like, I don't hate the legendary Godzilla design, but it's not one of my favorites. That is from some of the more recent Godzilla shorts that they've done, and
those are cool.
Really
those are really cool.
Yeah, they're really, really interesting. I enjoy those a lot. I do think it's a good design. But I think this one's better. And going back to the scary part, this Godzilla is intimidating and scary because of what he's doing, and not because they made him look like a zombie or a deadite or any number of different things. He is love it.
That is fantastic.
Like when, and I know you're not a fan of the film Shin Godzilla. I dislike certain things about it, and I enjoy the film overall. I think it's a decent movie, for sure. But there's definitely some aspects of Godzilla's design that I didn't appreciate. But it was a terrifying take on him, but they did it with the design. And I like this a lot better. I like the more traditional look, and I like what he's doing to define the fear factor of it.
And I think in this one too, and this is a problem that no one's ever, not that I know of, okay, not that I've ever seen anyone talk about it wasn't necessarily the Marvel, but some of the DC superhero movies. What happens, so like you say, what he's doing, well, he's just, let's just say baseline, he's destroying buildings, he's stepping on things, right? Which you can see in any Godzilla movie, right? But the fact is, there's very few movies that you'll see the interaction, unless, like, the only interaction they'll usually show is if he's picking up a train or something, right? And because it's easier to film, you can film the people inside the train, but on the outside, on the street level, mostly what you'll see is him in the background and people running. Okay, just people. Now, you can see people. Wait, what is that? Can you speak more to that, please? Is Godzilla a terrifying force of nature? Does he even give a shit about people? I'll let Matt take that one. So you get to see, people running away. So you get to see the crowd reaction. But in these trailers, what you don't get to see in previous movies is literally him. Like, again, one of the major things that caught my eye was when he stepped on the pavement and the pavement raised and like people were bouncing off of it and shit.
Yeah.
So in the old ones, you would see the people's reaction from inside a building or running away. But this one has melded the destruction with the human aspect. And I think that is what makes it terrifying. And they're taking it very seriously. So the tone is also, I think everything is going to come together in this movie to make it as emotionally impactful as possible. Now, if you notice, and if you didn't notice, you will now, because you can't not notice it. When it comes to Superman, or let's say Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and even the Justice League. So when there are the big blowout fights at the end, none of those movies incorporate the public. Now, you can say that in Man of Steel, it kind of did, because it had that gravity machine that would suck things up and blow people down, right? Okay. But once Superman and Zod, so that's just a big destruction piece, and it kind of dulls your senses anyways. Once Superman and Zod started fighting, it was only Superman and Zod. You would almost never see the people, or what they did it was never so like in Superman 2 in the old Christopher Reeves movie, Zod would do things like throwing things at people, and Superman would have to come in while he's fighting, save a person. Like the crowd interaction and the action fighting were actually combined. And they don't do that in these, especially in Batman v Superman, when they're fighting what should have been, you know, it was Doomsday, but not really. They were literally fighting in an empty city. There was no consequences to anything being destroyed. They didn't show one human being. It was only 20 minutes of 3 people fighting. And then in Justice League, again, at the end of Justice League, when they're in the Chernobyl place. Okay, I get it, it's Chernobyl. But the thing is, it's not dangerous if there's not humans that can't protect themselves in the fray.
Right.
It's just cool action, which is nice, but there's no emotional impact.
It's kind of like all the Arkham games after Asylum. That's why I think Asylum was the one that worked the best, is because there was a reason there were no civilians around. They were in an insane asylum, right?
Yeah.
And every game after that, they made up some nonsense reason why all the streets were devoid of people. And it didn't make any sense. And it's like, this is stupid. Like,
and I think that's where the Spider-Man game actually got it right, because the Spider-Man PS4 game, the only one that I played, like you'd be swinging through people, like the car chases were through people, and you could pick and just go help certain crimes. You know what I mean? Like the people, the public was directly involved in that game, and it felt like a real city.
Right. And as much as I love Arkham City and Arkham Origins, I didn't like Arkham Knight. But they lacked that. They lacked that that feel that they were actual real living places. So
yes.
To your point, this movie does that in a huge way. The one that, in my opinion, really did that was the original. And really 85. Godzilla's other that is a good shot. Although
I love that shot.
I like that design. I don't love it. Like it's definitely not my fit. Like I like the legendary.
I didn't like the huge hips. Like I didn't like the really huge like lower carriage of the monster.
Yeah.
It looked good in some scenes, but if you turned it around and stuff, it looked really big too. It's got to look good from every angle.
Right. And the legendary Godzilla, in my opinion, doesn't look good from every angle. It just doesn't. Like, to me, the face looks awkward from different angles. Especially in the one grinning shot from Godzilla versus Kong. Like, looks.
Well, it was the grin that did it. I mean, it was really stupid.
It was stupid, but also like just in general, that it doesn't look good from the front in general. And then, like I said, it is one of those things where it was a good design. I know a lot of people are in love with it. I think it goes a little bit too, dinosaur or crocodile-ish, but that's just me. But it's not bad by any means. Certainly we've seen much worse. But getting back to Brittany's question, does Godzilla, or is Godzilla a terrifying force of nature? Does he care about people, or is he even supposed to? I think the answer to that has changed over the years, and it's really
going to depend on what era you're talking about. I think it does.
Yeah, it is really interesting to me to see how, because honestly,
let's start with the original. Let's just start with the first movie, like where it all began, which was a very serious movie. Let's start with that one. What do you think?
Well, I mean, in that one, it's pretty clearly he's an allegory for the atomic bomb. So he's kind of like this representation of man's hubris and really a judgment being wrought upon him. Like, he's awoken by, the atomic bombs being, tested in the Pacific or whatnot. And of course the ventures out to Tokyo to wreak havoc.
Breaking the non-government.
Basically, and,
breaking their NDA in 1945.
And it was a very dark film. The most powerful scene, I think, that really stands out for folks, other than the ending, which 70-year-old spoiler alert, Dr. Serizawa, who, I mean, the theme of the anti-nuclear theme is just all through it, obviously, with Godzilla being the stand-in for the bomb. Ironically,
what the hell is that? Godzilla? That's adorable.
Being held by Mother Earth, which is weird.
That is really cool. I like that.
But he's kind of like this really message back to mankind, and you have Serizawa, who creates this weapon of mass destruction, for lack of a better term, with the oxygen destroyer. And recognizing its power, he takes his own life after destroying all the blueprints while killing Godzilla. So he sacrifices himself along with the knowledge on how to make this weapon in order to take out Godzilla. And it's just this very somber film. It is not your traditional, like, when you think of 50s B movies from like the US, this was not that. This was a this was serious.
This was done seriously.
Yeah, it was serious.
It was taken seriously too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it was taken seriously.
Yeah, even in the American version, where they replaced many of the scenes. Now, obviously, the US was concerned over, the opinions people would have on how we drop the bombs on them. They wanted to, like, kind of tone down a little bit the horror of what the Japanese experienced, and that's just, of course, them playing damage control a little bit. But they replaced many of the scenes with Raymond Burr, and it also gave the US on a great deal of, I feel like, respect, and it really had a reverence for the film's tone, which that was really cool to see. Although it didn't quite remain as dark, it still remained that somber tone, and really a powerful movie. It's funny. So that initial, allegory, that symbol for the atomic bomb, kind of, slowly evolved to whereby, your third and fourth films, you're facing other monsters from other. It was one of the earliest, like, crossovers when you think about it. You had Godzilla Raids Again, and then I
never saw that one. I still never seen that one.
It gets a lot of flack. It definitely was a bit rushed, but it still maintains that kind of low-key somber tone. It tells a much more intimate story, and it's a different vibe. I know it's not the favorite of a lot of fans. It gets kind of a lot of criticism, but I still really like it. It's a really good movie. It may not carry the emotional weight of the first one, but it's still got some pretty impactful parts to it. And the human element is still there. It's just it's not quite up to par with the first one. There's definitely some pacing issues, and it can kind of be a slog a little bit at times, but it also features the first, kaiju battle, which is Godzilla faces off against Anguirus, who is one of my other favorite kaiju. That's pretty cool.
So cool.
That's pretty beautiful. Cool. Another take on the legendary design there. But and then, of course, the next one, a few years later, we get, King Kong versus Godzilla. and then Godzilla versus Mothra, and then it was just off to the races. Then he was fighting other people. And then by the time you get to the mid 60s, you know, Godzilla is this almost like superhero type monster where he's totally done this 180 from an allegory for the bomb to where he's almost you know, revered as this heroic type creature, and I say almost, he really was. It was.
That's what Clark always asks me, depending on which one I'm watching. He's like, "Is he a good guy or a bad guy in one?" You know, in this one, he does the same thing with Hulk. He's like, "Is Hulk good or bad in this one?"
Right.
Like, Hulk's never really bad, but he's not helpful. He's not. Hulk's not really helpful. He's just not bad. You know?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's been so interesting to see him evolve. That's a really cool shot. You know, a lot of takes on the legendary design. That one specifically would be from the 2014 film, because it's got the more mountain looking spikes, not the more spread out leafy ones. But yeah, it really would depend on the era. I would say, you know, we have the Shin Godzilla is much more of a force of nature, kind of this fear of evolution, really is what he is, because he morphs so many times throughout that film. And you know, just the way he attacks is so he has no facial expressions, really, like at all. So it is much more less. It feels much more like a force of nature, where there's no emotion behind it, there's no mind behind it. It's almost just, it's coming and you have to get out of the way, kind of thing. So
let me ask you this, and like let's just take the first one again, for example. Does Godzilla hate people, or is he just doing what he does?
Definitely depends on the movie.
Let's just take the first one. I want to stick the original concept, because after that you can do whatever you want. How did it start?
Yeah, I think there was an element of I'm trying to think back, because he does kind of rampage through, and there is an element of he is intentionally causing destruction. Now, whether that is you know, due to hatred or just he's going to a city, and I think there's got to be some element there of revenge, or like he was awoken or disturbed by this bomb, and I think there's got to be some sort of anger behind it, because he's definitely not just like he's not scared of anything, because just he purposely wanders into the city, and he's not like an animal that's just terrified and trying to get away. He's walking through, he's picking up trains and, you know, putting them in his mouth, and, you know, that's funny. That's a great shot. But you know, he's destroying with intentionality, and I think there's got to be some sort of anger, you know, driving that. You know, what other?
I mean, I will say though, again, with Brittany's asking of the force of nature, although a tornado doesn't have a personality, it does destroy without malice. It just does what it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is Godzilla a force of nature, or is there malice behind it?
Yeah, I think there is kind of like a at times definitely.
I'll give it like an 80-20. Like an 80 force of nature, 20% fuck him. You know what I mean? Like I'll give it like an 80-20.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he just walked through the city, you know what I mean, and kind of just all the damage was kind of just incidental. Like, okay, he walked through a city, so there's going to be damage because he walked through the city. But like, this dude is literally going into he's breathing fire on this stuff.
He
like
does I mean, he definitely enjoys his job.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely a level of like you say, he's not just like, oops, sorry about your building there.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, see this train?
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of smacking everything around on purpose and lighting it on fire. So I think
so now, as far as you know, this new one, I have not seen or heard anything about another kaiju yet. Have you heard anything?
To the best of my knowledge, it's a solo film.
It looks like a solo film.
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it's a solo film. I pretty much know what happens.
Which I was kind of hoping. That's all I really want. You know what I mean? I've seen the multi kaiju things. I'd like to see a nice solo film again.
Yeah, and it's a little bittersweet because obviously the last one we got was just a solo film. But Shin Godzilla, it's tough. It's weird because Shin Godzilla was very successful. So I'm hoping that this more traditional Godzilla design will be even more successful than that. Yeah, he does. Blue Oyster Cult said it best there, Pops. But it's funny. I was kind of hoping I could go either way with it. I think Toho understands kaiju better traditionally than the United States does. So I always like it when they introduce other monsters and things like that because they do a better job of it. But I'm hoping this solo outing will be very, very successful because it's got a classic look for Godzilla. It's one of the best designs I think we've ever seen. And I'm really hoping that it doesn't encourage them to go with the more wacky kind of off the wall designs like in Shin Godzilla. And this will kind of encourage them to stay on this course.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as
like this, like Shin Godzilla, dude, it's kind of weird. Shin Godzilla, and maybe it's just me because I can't even watch the movie because Godzilla at times looks so gross to me. But is it in the fandom as well? Does that one kind of seem like an offshoot to most of the fandoms? Like it's a nice, don't mind me, just good old Godzilla here to destroy. Yeah. So do you think that the fandom kind of feels like Shin Godzilla is a nice kind of take on Godzilla, but may not really fall in the main categories of Godzilla movies?
I mean, it's weird
because it's so different. I mean, it's so fucking different, dude.
It is very different. I think it generally has a pretty good opinion in the fandom. A lot of people, some people, it's weird. A lot of people love it.
From what I hear in the fandom, I never hear I love the design. I hear the movie itself as a whole was really well done.
Yeah.
That's more of what I hear.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It's weird because, and this is why I've been ranting and raving about this new film so much, is because the design is the best one I've seen in ages. Because
that's tough to do, man. That's really hard to do.
I like the legendary Godzilla, but I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's great. I like the Shin Godzilla design or certain aspects of it, but I think they really dropped the ball with other parts of it too. The arms especially have always puzzled me. Like I swore I had to eat so much crow after the leaks first started for that film because everyone's shown off these pictures and I saw the arms. I'm like, guys, clearly he either got injured, his arms were blown off or something, and he's regenerating.
It's mid-transition.
Right. It's a transitional stage.
Yeah.
Like he is going to show up and have normal looking arms at some point. And I was wrong. Like,
Yeah.
To this day, I cannot understand how wrong I was, because it's mind boggling to me that actually was just what they wanted him to look like.
Dude, to me, like the transitions he went through before he became the full Godzilla, like the eyes, the bulging eyes of whatever the fuck those things were that were him. I'm like, it's so gross. It's so disgusting. I hate looking at it. Like, if you have a monster that you don't want to look at while it's on film, that's not a good idea, man. I just like, that's where I'll deal with the short arms over this gross bulgy-eyed worm thing. Like, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking.
It was disturbing, and I think it was meant to be. I think that was done intentionally. Oddly enough, those aren't the things that I hated the most. I kind of accepted those as like these transitional stages. My bigger issue was that when he became the full grown final form of Godzilla, that it, like I said, the design was still off.
Yeah.
And because I could have handled the transition, the way that storyline kind of worked was he was kind of this organism that, fed off this nuclear material, and then they kind of all melded into one. And Godzilla was kind of born out of that. It's almost, he's more in line origin wise with something like Destroya from the Heisei series than Godzilla. But it was interesting just to see what he ended up as. And then, like I said, I had more of an issue with, like, tail mouths and tail people.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
that stuff was really off. But I think I think a lot of people still, I really like the movie. I think it's a great satirical look at Japanese politics, particularly that film. He was much more, I feel like, that force of nature, because there was really no way to, he didn't really look at anything. He just sort of lumbered forward. He did sort of, like, you could tell he had some sort of consciousness, but not much.
Well, he moved, basically. That's the only way you could really tell he had consciousness, was
right.
He moved.
Yeah, but for the most part, like, he's being shot at and usually doesn't move his head or anything. Doesn't, like, it was really bizarre. But it was kind of terrifying in that way. And, but you had this great, like, allegory for the Fukushima, nuclear disaster, and just the incompetence of, all the politicians and the bureaucracy that really prevented them from helping people right away. In that. So in that sense, it was a great movie and did that very, very well. Loved a lot of the actors in it. Some people don't. I heard the other day someone was complaining that, that they were just tired of all the political crap in it, and they didn't want to see that. But I thought it was very well done overall. So,
well, if something, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's, Like, I'm sure there's people that love the design, and I fucking hate it. So, and
there are some people who really like the design. I like aspects of the design, but I think it could have been better. Personally, in my opinion, I think I would be a much bigger fan or advocate of the design as if you dropped the stupid tail mouth and gave him some beefier shoulders and arms.
Yeah.
I think that design improves considerably for me, because it is creepy, it is unsettling, and kind of it does have shades, or at least these little influences of the original 54's design in it, even though it's definitely taken in a more horror type of direction.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting movie, but I don't know. It's one of those ones that's always going to kind of be this outlier. I would say, probably the most controversial films outside of the 1998, T-Rex Godzilla, which is that monster is now the monster is now known as Zilla, even though the film is always going to be known as Godzilla because that's what it's copyrighted to, and that's but the creature Toho considers a different one now, and it's going to be. Other than that, though, I'd say the most controversial films would be Shin Godzilla and the anime trilogy, and actually Singular Point, which was the anime series. All those featured very, very different takes on Godzilla. Although I will say the anime trilogy, I don't think Godzilla's design was the most controversial aspect, even though it wasn't great. I think it was
I doubt it was the most controversial. I don't by the third one, like and because I'm not a purist, like I liked the anime series, but I like animation and I like the designs were absolutely amazing with the ships and all the technology. Godzilla was okay. I didn't think it was a great design. You could tell it was Godzilla. But my problem was just the story. Like, it made sense, and then like in the third one, it was just, to me, the story. I have trouble following a lot of anime stories to begin with. I don't know. I think the way they write a lot of anime is definitely different than the way Americans write stories. They tend to get, even if they're straightforward, sometimes they can drop the ball at the end and get really philosophical. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, I was following everything, and now I don't know where I am. Like, it's fucking weird. And I felt like that did that. Like, with King Ghidorah's heads coming out of a wormhole. And I'm like, I don't know what this is now. And this was pretty straightforward before, and now it's some weird mystical thing. I don't know what I'm watching now.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It kind of just threw a curveball and went in a totally different direction. And they weren't that good to begin with. Like, and you want to talk about weird, that Mechagodzilla design was so bad. Like, it still just boggles my mind. Like, someone actually like looked at that and said, yeah, that's a good idea.
I know.
Like, just, it's so frustrating to me.
One of my favorite, I would say probably my favorite Mechagodzilla, because there's not that many. My favorite Mechagodzilla design was in Ready Player One. Honestly, I thought the design was fucking beautiful.
It was really good. Had a great retro look to it.
It had both. Like, it really rode the line really well. It did. It had retro, but it looked new and cool. Just shitty movie, but the design was fucking amazing. I thought that's like my favorite one.
Yeah, a lot of people are really a big fan of that design. It's sad. It's weird because over the years, I think I've grown to appreciate the original. I like the old school design of it, the rivets and stuff like that. It looks very 60s, 70s, and I've kind of really grown to appreciate it a bit more. And that, but I think for me, it's still probably Kyu. I think that one from the 2000s looks to be I don't know. To me, that design holds up no matter.
It was a good one. It was
really good.
Yeah.
And even the Godzilla versus Kong one, I appreciate the Terminator vibe that it had. I absolutely love that about that particular version of it. It definitely was a different take on the Mechagodzilla design. And I've never really seen, it's funny because Mechagodzilla has never really been this like hulking like beat stick that just absolutely manhandled Godzilla like that. He's always had a lot of firepower.
Yeah, but he moved. I mean, he barely moved though. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the old ones, he would just kind of stay with his arms at like a 90-degree angle. You know what I mean? And just kind of
like fire missiles.
He wouldn't even walk. He would like roll forward. No, this one moved like a mechanical animal. and it was vicious. It was a great fight. It was intense.
It was so cool. And the one that like kind of, and I don't know, I liked him when I was younger. He's kind of become my least favorite. Was kind of like the 90s one. I thought he was cool at the time, and then it's like all that chrome. It's too shiny. There's no contrast to the design at all. The mouth, as I've gotten older, looks more like a duckbill to me than I prefer. So that one really is kind of not aged the best in my opinion. But yeah, no, that Mechagodzilla the Mechagodzilla design from the anime is definitely my least favorite. Like I can't believe that even exists. But yeah, no, that Ready Player One design is pretty sweet. It actually
was really good, dude. That was really. Now the thing is, again, it looked good in that movie. It would not have looked good in the Godzilla vs. Kong movie.
No, a lot of people were hoping for it.
Tone. It doesn't. No,
it tone. It so really doesn't. It's weird. Yeah, people were really kind of calling for that.
It wouldn't have worked. It really.
I don't think it would have either. Because one, it didn't even match that Godzilla in design. If anything, the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla, to me, is if they made a mecha version of like either the Marvel or like the Hanna-Barbera Godzillas. That's like either the cartoon series Godzilla or the Marvel Comics Godzilla.
Yeah,
that's what he looks like, a mecha version of to me when I see it, because he doesn't really fit the legendary design. The one we got kind of mirrors some of the design elements of the legendary Godzilla. Specifically, I'm thinking of the head shape, the jawline kind of thing, kind of matches in some way the Godzilla's design. He fits that universe.
Yeah,
at least in my opinion. But
we're is it this week?
Yeah, this week, Thursday.
It's this week, right?
Yep. This week.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So we are on the cusp. I believe it is 5. I have to double check. I actually have to make some other last minute checks on all that. I got to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row as far as that goes. But yeah, I'm super excited. I can't believe I'm seeing 2 Godzilla movies in theater in less than a month's time.
Isn't it weird?
It is really weird.
It's weird.
Totally bizarre. I'm so excited for this though.
Yeah.
And there's the new Monarch series out, which I got to start watching. But
you haven't seen that yet.
I haven't watched it yet because they didn't. I'm gonna be real. I don't like waiting. So
no, me either. I would wait till it's all done and
And I know that's bad of me from like more of a journalistic perspective because I should be talking about it on, the Stompcast stuff, but I would rather wait and kind of be able to progress through it at my pace rather than Apple's pace.
Well, then and then the thing is though too, just monetarily, you don't have to buy it for a fucking month, even though it's $7 or $10, whatever it is. Like you can get the free 7-day trial and then just watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, I think on Black Friday,
else on Apple that's not on everything else. They're all the fucking same now.
Yeah, I know. It was, and I think they had like a 3-month free trial on Black Friday or something like that. And even then, I'm like, I don't care.
I don't care. I don't care, like, Apple.
I really, and people are like, oh, well, if you don't, support it, then you won't get more. I'm like, they did a 10 episode series. They're not doing another series of this. I hate to break it, but like, one, Netflix doesn't renew crap that they for more than one season. It's not their model anymore. The odds of Godzilla getting a season 2, unless it somehow makes Apple a stupid amount of money, then it's not happening.
So I'll go off on one of my fucking rants. Whoever said that, I understand in the old paradigm that would be true, But guess what? The only things that they do renew are shit. They only renew things that everyone hates and loses money. That's the new model. Because what else are people on YouTube going to talk about if shit doesn't suck? So, like that. So if it's good, you can guarantee it's not going to get renewed. If it's shit, it'll probably get 5 seasons just to piss people off. Because I think that's the new currency. Our fucking anger is worth more money to them than money. Really? I mean,
yeah, because people will watch it out of pure curiosity.
They're still gonna watch it, dude. People still fucking pay to go see the Marvels so they can bitch about it for a week on their YouTube channel. Like, you're still giving them your money, even though some of them now are like going to see a different movie than sneaking in to see.
That's funny.
Fuck them, dude. So I mean, Disney doesn't need the money, and honestly, like, don't support it or it'll go away. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that anymore. And that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But still, that is the old paradigm. That doesn't work that way anymore. Disney is losing money on every fucking movie, but they keep making shit. So they're probably doing some sort of weird tax thing where they're writing it off and actually making more money. So they'd rather just make shit.
I don't know.
It's all fucked.
Yeah, the whole thing is awful. But I don't know. Like I said, I highly doubt. I haven't seen a case where I think Loki got. It's like they've done 2 seasons and that's done, right? And that was super.
Well, the second season I think might still be going right now, but no one asked for it. No one wanted it. No one gives it. No one gives a shit. And I used to give a shit. I'm telling you. The only people that actually give a shit are the people that hate it, because that's their bread and butter now. That's how they're making a living, by bitching about it. But no one cares about it because it's good. They only care about it so that they can have fodder for their YouTube channel. That's all. That's all.
Right.
It's over. It's done. And the whole new normal had nothing to do with the big C word. The new normal had to do with this fucking weird reality shift that happened after 2020. And everything is just backwards now. Everything is backwards now. And it's yes, thank you very much. It's exactly how I feel. I just want to disappear sometimes. Because this new normal is fucking insane, dude. It's so goddamn stupid.
It is weird.
It's like, well, it doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't make sense. You're right. It's not supposed to. It pisses you off more if it doesn't make sense. And they win. Oh, God, I can't stand it. Can't stand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brittany's like, ready to wrap it up? Yeah, I guess so. I'm ready.
Yeah, I guess so. We're at about an hour and that, but yeah.
So we'll be seeing
been
you
fun
Thursday.
as always. Yes.
It'll be our only 2, like me and Brittany's only 2 date nights this year are thanks to you. So we love you. We love you, buddy.
I appreciate it, guys.
Out of the house, away from these psychos. These little oh God, the kids are crazy today.
Speaking of, I took care of what Britt asked about. I took care of too. So.
Yeah, she told me. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
What you're talking about?
Well,
I don't want to say it because I'm afraid your kids are.
Just text her, like message her afterwards, because she said I don't know. Specifically, she doesn't know. So message her afterwards and then let her
We'll talk on Thursday. What?
specifically know.
Yeah. So I took care of that, and yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Pops. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Thanks
everybody that showed up, and we will see you next week with maybe a review of maybe a spoiler review. Who knows?
Maybe we could toss up. Maybe we can make it a dual episode and toss up the Stompcast bumper at the front too, the little theme song, and we could have like a combination crossover event. And that way I could post it and be really lazy.
Okay. All right. We'll work something out.
Have a great one, dude.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you. Bye, buddy.
See ya.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.